Finally, we are back for another UFC pay-per-view. That was such a long wait. I haven't had a drought like that since I first lost it, mate. And like the end of any long stint in between the action, what we are looking down at, UFC 297. It's not very pretty, is it? But we do what we have to do, boys. We're gonna get through this, okay. Something is better than nothing, I guess, but jokes aside, what we're looking at today is Dricus Du Plessis and specifically his mindset going into UFC 297. He's the man that nobody thought could win a title, yeah? Like when he was up against Robert Whittaker, it was almost guaranteed that Robbie was going to win that fight. And the question kept coming up throughout the week, is Robert Whittaker looking past Dricus Du Plessis? And that's the conversation that we seem to have a lot of in MMA, isn't it? There have been countless times, so many times that we're sure somebody is going to win, where it was almost a foregone conclusion. And then at the end of the day, it's the other person that just walks out with their hand raised. And I'm going to share with you some of my favorite examples of this happening. And then we're going to talk about DDP and whether or not he's overlooking Sean Strickland. And I guess we're going to find out together by the main event of UFC 297. So firstly, some of the biggest oversights in UFC history, some of my favorite ones. Oh, gee. Okay, this one's my favorite, and then there's a close second that I'm going to share with you. And it's really hard to know which one is my favorite, but my fondest memory, the one that I love the most, would be my top tier one, is Luke Rockhold versus Michael Bisping when they fought for the title, okay? This one is burned into my memory. UFC 199. I had been watching UFC on and off for quite a while, but this was right around the time, UFC 199, where I was like, right, I'm watching every single card no matter what. And I remember right before that fight, Luke Rockhold had this look on his face of just utter boredom going into it. And I mean, like during the call-outs, not during the press conference or in the walkout. I mean, after that, he had been oiled up like Dana White on a bad day, had the cup check, you know, as Buffer is doing the call-outs, right as the fight started, Luke Rockhold just looked completely not interested to be in there. He looked bored. And we have champions, yeah? Like we have champions like Israel Adesanya who they're cool, calm, they're collected. You know, Kamaru Usman is another great example. Exactly the same, like at press conferences, really chilled, cool, calm, collected. Volkanovski is another one. Like always gives the head nod, always seems very relaxed to be in the cage. But you see there's this moment right after Buffer's done with the call-outs, and you can see the eye of the tiger. Like I'm sure we can all see it. That moment where the champion or the veteran athlete just snaps and they're ready to go. All that calmness is put to the side and that killer is back in the cage, ready to fight. And Luke Rockhold never had that. He looked like he could have taken a nap in the cage right as that fight was starting. And I remember saying to my mates, like, look at this guy, man. He just doesn't care at all. And then we sat down and we watched Michael Bisping just absolutely starch him. Like just rolled through him. Bisping beat the piss out of him. And with someone who had that smug look on their face, it's one of my most satisfying UFC fandom moments just ever. That one is top tier, but this one is close behind it, and there could be some recency bias here, and that is Israel Adesanya. It's Israel Adesanya against Sean Strickland. Izzy was so sure and so smug going into that fight. He already set up his next fight past Sean Strickland with Dricus Du Plessis. He literally promised Dana White, don't worry, I'm going to beat this guy. Like, the UFC did not want Sean Strickland to be a champion, right? The UFC is a marketing company that has ad revenue all over the world, and advertisers and Sean Strickland are like oil and water. You know what I mean? They're like Drew Dober, and you know what I mean, right? And the level of dislike that I had for Izzy going into that fight, he was just so cringe. ever since the Jared Cannonier fight, where he came out with Jared Cannonier's urn, you know, as the Undertaker, and then he leg kicked from range for 25 minutes. The way he would always talk about knocking someone out or going in there willing to die, and then would dance around the outside and leg kick from range for 25 minutes. And I don't care how much people defend Izzy, he 100% has a dog fetish. Like, he has liked accounts of dog fetishes openly online. He didn't even use a sock puppet account. Like, yuck. Anyway, all to say, on that given weekend, he overlooked Sean Strickland, and look what happened to him. Now, there's heaps of other examples, so let me know yours down in the comments. I want to hear your story of this. But is Dricus Du Plessis the next victim of this? And I do think there are some signs to show us that, yeah, he might be. There are just a couple. Let's have a look at them. So the first one is Dricus Du Plessis is already talking champ. He's already openly discussing what he's going to do after he wins the belt as a champion. And then the second one is from Daniel Cormier. Like, Daniel Cormier has talked to his coaches and openly said on his YouTube channel that the coaches down in South Africa believe that it is already a done deal. In fact, their exact words, or DC's exact words, were Sean Strickland is just an afterthought. That's how sure they are that he's going to run through Sean. And Daniel Cormier, DC, knows this feeling. Like, I believe he overlooked Stipe in the second fight that they had. So there's Dricus Du Plessis already talking about being a champ. There's the team saying that it's just an afterthought of, like, Sean Strickland, the fight. They're not even, like, they're already thinking about the career after that. Obviously, who's going to win that. And then there is Dricus Du Plessis' own words as well. He's openly talked about already feeling Sean Strickland's strength at their recent brawl at UFC 296, and how he doesn't think it's that much of a big deal. Sean didn't feel that strong. You've got all of that going into Dricus's headspace. All of this, man, is just, these are the telltale signs of some overconfident fighter underestimating their opponent. And then you have to pair that. You have to pair that with Sean Strickland. I mean, has he ever looked this good? Look how shredded he is. Now, I know that this is the first pay-per-view the UFC has done without USADA, so obviously this is just a coincidence. But either way, right, whether he's geared up or not, you don't get to those levels without being hyper-focused. And when you're that hyper-focused and you have the sort of rage that Sean Strickland has, that there's only two ways that this is going to go, yeah? Like, either he is so locked in and ready to kill this man that he is going to put on the worst beating that he's ever put on anyone. It's going to be like that first round against Israel Adesanya. That's the level of beating that he's going to put on. Or he's so overworked up and so angry that I'm going to give you the most obvious casual example of all time, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's going to Jose Aldo himself, you know, rush in against Conor McGregor. He's going to get clipped. He's going to be too angry, rush in, counted, goodbye, game over. They're the two options for Sean Strickland. And I don't know why, but I've got this feeling that Dricus is just too confident and too sure of himself, and Sean Strickland is the right level of pissed off. And we've seen this before too many times with someone that is just too confident. Most of the time, it's a long-time champion, yeah? Like Nunes was against Pena. I mean, Nunes didn't even bother training, but when it's flipped over and it's the contender that's this confident and it's the champion that's this locked in and ready to go, man, it's good to be back, isn't it? Man, it is good to be back. Anyway, they're my thoughts and how I see this weekend playing out. Let me know yours down there. What is your favorite one from memory? A champion that overlooked their contender, someone who was just, they had no chance of winning, or they didn't take their contender seriously. Let me know what example that would be for you down there in the comments. And do you think that Dricus Du Plessis is overlooking Sean Strickland? Or do you think that he is just the right level of locked in? Who have you got winning this weekend? That's an easy one. Put that down there in the comments. If you're still here, that means you've enjoyed this video in some way. So if you could say thank you by hitting that subscribe button down there, it means so much to small creators like myself. And of course, I will see you all in the next one.